It was one of those unforgettable days. Blue skies, good friends, together on a challenging hike to the top of Mount Lassen. The trip was a reward for a handful of students from Mountain Lakes High School. Reaching the summit would turn out to be one of the best moments of 18-year-old Joey Seraquiel's life.
It was a profound moment, and I know it was important for him. He really enjoyed that day.
It was a joy he was determined to share.
We had a couple of students that fell behind and were struggling, and Joey ran literally down probably a third of the mountain, grabbed their backpacks, and took them, the backpacks, up so that the students didn't have that extra weight. Around here we would say that's Joey. That's a student who will go the extra mile and cares about his friends and cares about helping and was willing to do that extra effort just to make sure everybody could get to the very top, and everybody did. But that might not have happened without Joey.
That helpful spirit endeared Joey to his classmates and teachers.
Joey's one of these kids that he was always smiling. He never heard any negative out of him. He never talked bad about a kid.
He got along with everyone.
That just made who he was.
Joey was one of Mary Nash's favorite students.
They lived in my class every day, the coffee club, And so when they had problems, they'd talk to me, or like I said, I don't want to say snitches, but if I wanted to know what was happening on campus, I could ask them, and they'd be really truthful about it.
At 6 feet 6 inches tall, Joey towered over everyone. But if he was a giant, he was a gentle one.
He was kind, he was good-hearted, and we'd always tease him because he was the tallest boy on campus.
He was also a quiet defender, at one point stepping up to protect a classmate he saw being bullied.
He was not only getting, hassled at school, but he was having trouble at home and online in the way he felt about himself, and he was suicidal or whatever. And Joey spent a month, every day for a month, walked him to the lunch counter, walked him through the line, and made sure nobody picked on him.
Even his sister had a moment at school with some girl bothering her, and I said, even if you didn't want to go, why didn't you at least go to your brother? And he said, I probably would have taken her to the office and had her tell them what was happening. He thought of it as like, you take the right steps, you do the right thing, and so you don't let somebody get bullied. You don't, you go to the right people.
Joey's protective spirit extended even to adults, including his father's friend, Brandon Weiss.
I'm disabled. I've got back issue and nerve issues. He'd come up and do yard work for me to, maybe rake the lawn for me or help me turn the soil in the garden for the next season's vegetables, babysit the kids for me. If I needed to step out of the house for a little bit and do something, he'd come up and help me out with that.
He was a kind, sensitive, caring, wholesome young man. He would do anything in the world for you.
Joey was especially kind to his best friend, Cody Stearns. When Cody was in his darkest hour, Joey saved his life.
It's not something I necessarily want to talk about, but he got me out of a bad situation once. I made a mistake. I hurt myself, and he got me home. He got me better. And that's something I can't repay now.
If it wasn't for Joey, my son would have died of alcohol poisoning. If it wouldn't have been for Joey, my son wouldn't be alive today.
My son stayed up with him all night and babysat him and brought him out of it and made sure it didn't go too far and saved that kid's life as well. How many people can you say saved lives, before they ever even graduate high school? That's pretty intense, and who knows what else he would have done. Nobody can say.
I can't do the same for him. I told him, I owe you, and I will pay you back. And I don't get to do that. And that hurts a lot.
In September 2016, Joey was well on his way to graduating, and he, Cody, and their friend Cameron had big plans.
We all talked about moving to Seattle to just move to a very technical city so we can get jobs together and work in the same field.
That was the ultimate goal. Get our licenses and just go. And that's what we were working towards for a really long time.
I think he was really looking forward to doing that, particularly with his friends who he was very close to.
Every weekend, the three teens would meet for dinner to hang out and plan everything from where to live to what furniture they'd buy.
We used to go to dinner every night on Fridays because Cameron worked in the same place I did, so like Thai food was the pretty typical thing, and then usually we'd maybe see a movie, or more often we'd just kind of wander around stores, sometimes buy clothes and stuff.
They did everything together. They'd just be laughing and giggling and about certain things that they talked about or what their favorite music was or whatever.
The evening of September 23rd was supposed to be one of those typical nights. Instead, it turned into an unthinkable tragedy. From home, Joey sent a Facebook message to his friends. They arranged to meet at Cody's house after work.
We were talking to him at a little after 5 because I stayed late that night, and he was on his way.
Joey began the short walk to Cody's house, but never made it.
So we thought, well, he's probably talking to some other friends, probably got caught up along the way. Not a big deal. Go pick him up. He's probably waiting at my house right now. So that's what we did. We drove back to my house, and there's no one there.
Around 7:30 p.m., Brenda drove Cody and Cameron to Joey's house. His father knew something was wrong.
I'd set him off hour and a half before that.
Raphael headed to town where he flagged down a sheriff.
So I pulled up and I said, hey, my son's not where he's supposed to be. And first thing out of his mouth before I could even finish is, oh, another one of those, huh? And I said, no, it's not one of those. This is a good kid. He's just not where he's supposed to be, or something could have happened to him. We're looking for him. And gave him a name and description and stuff, and the sheriff says, well, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
The boys decided to retrace the path Joey normally walked.
We drove over to the place where we'd often cut through. It's like this fence right off the tracks, because his house led directly into a path straight onto the tracks, and he'd always use that as a shortcut.
There are 2 train tracks that run near Joey's house, located in a man-made gorge with steep sides. Each track sits on a raised berm and is surrounded by large-sized gravel. The tracks are a popular shortcut for teenagers, especially those at nearby Central Valley High School. Without the tracks, students would have to walk around a large hill to get to town. Trains travel through at high speeds all hours of the day, but residents rarely hear them.
That particular area, the trains, there's a north and a southbound track, come barreling down the corner or go up fast and without honking their horns. And my investigation revealed that the neighbors in the area vicinity, that's very true. They only hear horns once in a while.
In the tracks by Joey's house, if a train doesn't blow its horn, it can literally sneak up on you. Given the constant foot traffic, a dangerous and deadly condition existed.
They say it's a known rabbit trail for transients. Let's think about that. They know this, and they're blaring through there anyway. No horns, no nothing. Not even paying attention, because it's transients.
But Joey is no transient, and his friends were frantic to find him.
We knew the path we normally took, so me and Cody yeah, we probably still on the road, or the path then, I guess. So we got there, and then we started looking, and yeah.
Several minutes into the search, Cody noticed a page from a Harry Potter book that Joey's mom had given him.
We started finding scraps of paper and then gradually larger pieces of the book, and I recognized the characters and all that, the writing and everything.
So we split up, and then I found more pages, and then I found a big chunk of the book.
Deep down, I was, it was kind of starting to sink in at that point that something was probably not right. And when those feelings started settling in, that was when Cameron just yelled out to me. I just kept asking him, trying to maintain myself as best I could. Like, what is it? What happened? Is it him? Is he all right? Walking around in the dark, you pull out your phone flashlight, and you can only see about maybe 5 feet in front of you. So by the time I see anything. I've seen everything, and I know his clothes. I mean, I know what he wears. I remember it's the same jeans, same belt, and there he is on the ground. It's the worst thing I've ever felt. And to find him with your friend, and it helps, but not much. I mean, you're both just destroyed. So it's you don't know what to say.
Yeah, it was awful.
Cody and Cameron went back to the car where Cody's mother was waiting.
I'm like, where's Joey? And Cody goes, Mom, we have to go to the sheriff. I said, what? And then Cameron goes, we have to go to the sheriff. I said, what's going on? And they neither one of them would say anything, and I knew something was bad, and I didn't have the heart. I just started crying.
Joey's walking north, unaware that there's anything or anybody behind him when he's struck by the train at full impact. And I might mention that the train never stopped. The train didn't stop until it was scheduled to stop in Dunsmuir, California, probably 40 miles north of here. The conductor and the engineer were distracted or not paying attention, either for being asleep or playing video games. In essence, and that's the reason why Joey was struck.
A sheriff's officer went to Joey's house to tell his father.
Like, what do you mean you found him on the tracks? And they said he's deceased. And I blew up. I was like, I don't think so. You know what I mean? My kid's not, he just left. He wasn't on drugs. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't, he's perfectly healthy. There's no reason for him to get hit by a train. That's ridiculous.
Raphael insisted on seeing Joey's body as proof. Reluctantly, the officer took him to the tracks.
You want me to call my son's mother and tell her that he is dead from that, when someone could have just stolen all of his stuff and then got something happen to them? That's nothing. That's some black pants and a pair of shoes. I'm not making that phone call unless I'm certain. And I start pushing past him again. And he says, okay, and he turns and he shines a flashlight right on Joey's face. And he's all twisted and contorted. And his face is upside down, his mouth is hanging wide open. You can see his eyes, and a bunch of blood, and you see his hair color. And the little bit of a mustache he was trying to grow, and the rest of him just looked like mangled hamburger. And he took the light away. It was just a quick flash, and I saw that every time I closed my eyes for like a month. I couldn't sleep with the lights off. I mean,
my phone was ringing, and I picked it up, and it was my mom. And she ended up telling me, and I'm not exactly sure how she said it. I think she said, I need you to sit down. Something's happened to Joey. And I said, oh my God, what hospital is he at? Where am I going? What hospital is he at? And she said, no, honey, he's been hit by a train. The coroner is with him now. And I screamed. Apparently neighbors heard it, knew something was very, very wrong.
The horrible news spread quickly.
That was probably the most pain I'd ever seen one of my friends in.
I was devastated. Partly because I knew he was so close to graduating. And, we're all rooting for students when they get that close because we know it's a big life step for them.
The next morning, the sheriff returned to the tracks to continue the investigation. He was almost killed by a train barreling around the corner. He wrote in his report, quote, I had very little time to get off the tracks to avoid getting hit. Due to the curve in the tracks, I heard no warning and felt no vibration of the train coming. Joey's mother read every word of the sheriff's report before the funeral.
I had to look at it. I had to read it. Especially the diagram and the description of his injuries, because I had already known every little thing that had happened to that boy. I had to know every little injury, everything that had happened to him. And I'm glad that I did that. I'm glad that I saw him, because it was not at all real for me until I did. And even then, I was still begging him to wake up as I held him and just bawled, just cried and cried and cried.
The tears haven't stopped.
Every night, every day, it never ends. You wake up and you think you did something new with your friend, but you didn't. And you never do, because they're gone.
Memories, that's all that's left. I have my daughter, but she won't even talk about it. She won't go to the cemetery, which I can understand. I think I want to go down there and make sure that the rains and the storms haven't damaged the flowers and stuff that are out there. At the same time, I can't even drive in there without thinking about him just down there decomposing, literally, So yeah, that's my day.
He'll never get married. He'll never be able to raise his own child. Graduate from high school. He didn't even get to that. Or even just being uncle to my daughter's kids. And that was one of those things too. When my kids fought, I always told them, one day he or she could be all that you have. And one day you'll realize that. And I really hope that you two can become best friends eventually. I feel like I lied to my daughter her entire life. He's not going to have that family, and the rest of us aren't going to have him there. He was always so upbeat and ready, basically for anything.
Joey was a quiet anchor for the young people around him, including his sister Michaela.
We did everything together. It's just so much.
His death was like a fork in her road.
I'll never be an aunt. My kids will have cousins. My brother didn't even get to graduate high school yet. You just gotta get through it. It's something you can't change,
Joey's special community of friends continues to struggle with enormous pain.
I think about him all the time still. It doesn't really help that I lost my job around the same time too. So it's just been a kind of a depressing few months for me. I haven't really been talking to Cody lately, which is I feel awful about.
I don't really think we're friends anymore. I tried. I don't know what happened, but he just stopped talking to me after we got let go. So I'm sitting here and I'm alone. I don't go to dinner anymore. I just don't. It's really hard.
His classmates will soon graduate from Mountain Lakes High School, but Joey's absence will be deeply felt.
And next door we have a board up on the wall. It shows all the kids graduating this year. And since Joey wasn't going to graduate, I asked if they would put his name up in memory anyway, so that the other kids wouldn't forget who he was. And I even asked some of the teachers if they'd donate some money so we could make a scholarship for him this year in graduation.
I will tell you what's sitting with me is what we're going to do at graduation, because staff is insisting that he get a diploma and that his name be read out loud. And it's going to be important for staff and other students for me to do that, but it's going to be difficult.
You think you eventually get over it, but you don't really. He was a great person. He was my best friend. And I don't know if I'll ever find anyone who will live up to that.
He saved lives, he helped people, he had a plan. Who can say what his future would have been like?